Hi everyone, thank you for coming to This Beautiful Place Tarot. This is Letty here again. So I wanted to do my honest opinion on the Foxfire, the Kitsune Oracle. Shouts out to my BTS fans. What's up, BTS fans? I did put that in the intro, so what's up? I will start by saying that I am not a expert on Korean art, Korean mythology, or true Korean anything. I'm not an expert, okay? So I will start there. But I did leave in the intro me picking out this deck in the store. Okay, I go to a spiritual shop here in Chicago, okay? So I like to touch my decks before I buy them. Earlier I had posted, I edited in, you know, what this looked like, you know, before I opened it up, okay? So as soon as I grabbed this deck, I will say that I started hearing messages instantly, okay? I went to the card shop and I bought about 5 different card decks, okay? Now, anything that I have an issue with explaining, I do have my daughter here. Say what's up, Sass.
Hey.
She loves BTS. She loves everything Korean. She is a better expert than I am, okay, when it comes to this stuff. But again, I bought this deck. She almost was going to buy this, but she decided on another deck. I bought another deck for her. And then as soon as I picked this up, I started hearing all kinds of messages. The first channel message I heard was, you're going to learn a lot, okay? The next thing I heard was, buy me, okay? And the third message I heard was, I want to go home with you, okay? So, shouts out to all my spiritual people. If you are any clairaudient, clairvoyant, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay? When it comes to buying your decks and, you know, the channeled messages that we get, okay? So this is by Lucy Cavendish. The artwork is by Meredith Dillman, okay? So right off the bat, I love it because it is red. Red is my favorite color. I do have another Lucy Cavendish deck that I love too, and I probably will do a review on this, but I've had it for a while, okay? The Fairy Forest. Shouts out to my people who have this deck. I love this deck as well, okay? So let's open it up together, okay? This is my first time opening this box ever, okay? So
I just want to say, as a quick little interruption, that my mom had said that this was Korean, and there are some typical cultural differences with this deck, as we had seen earlier in the back, as you can see. There are some cultural interruptances in this deck, and you'll soon see what I mean later. This is not a Korean deck. This is a Japanese-inspired deck, as the Kitsune is traditionally from Japanese and Chinese folklore. There are some Korean instances that you can see in this with the stylistic artwork that it shows. This is the Kitsune right here. If you don't know, the Kitsune are 9-tailed foxes, traditionally shown in Japanese folklore. They're known for being tricksters and shapeshifters, but they're also known to be very, very beautiful. And I think that translates really well with the artwork in this deck. Like this first card you see here, the Coming of Age. It's very pretty. It's very feminine and very gorgeous artwork overall.
yeah, I do like the red backing. As my daughter was stating, the artwork is beautiful, okay? I will tell you that right off the bat, these are sticking to each other, okay? I bought these at the spiritual shop for $26. Let me know if you found them cheaper on Amazon or somewhere else. As I stated before, with my Goddess deck, I like to touch my cards. You know, I'm not waiting a month due to COVID-19 for Amazon to send me them, which I have waited before, but right now I wanted some new decks. Go ahead, Sass.
So, the quality of this, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of take this and show it to the camera right here. They're very glossy. The cardstock, it seems a little flimsy, but not too flimsy. Like it's thick enough to where you can, you know, like the cardstock's pretty durable overall. So yeah, so here we have follow the signs, and this does come with a booklet, as most oracle cards do. This is an oracle card. These aren't tarot cards. But there's a lot of nuances with the artwork overall.
Yeah, and as you can hear, these are kind of sticking to each other. So I did want to pull them apart right away and shuffle them, but yeah, that's not happening. So, and that's okay, you know. For $26, I love it. For $26, I do like the gloss on my oracle cards. As aside from not having it, just because that's me. If I want to frame it, you know, I think it gives it that added punch. Just in case, you know, bringer of change. So one thing I want to talk about is the dragons in this oracle deck, okay? So I am unaware of the differences. I was unaware of the differences between the Eastern dragon and the Western dragon, and my daughter pointed out to me the difference. So what is the difference, As?
So if you can see here, this is very much a dragon that you would typically see in American and in European artwork, or just folklore in general, especially concerning dragons. The entirety of this deck is meant to be based on Eastern Asian culture. And I don't know if anyone see it, but if you look up Eastern Asian dragon, you'll see a wingless, more serpentine figure of a dragon. They are very like loose. They're very much associated with the element of air, not so much the element of fire as Western dragons are. Eastern dragons are wingless. If you see this here, this is more of a lizard type of figure silhouette with it. The wings are not the trademark of Eastern dragons. And perhaps if you've seen in like a type of perhaps Chinese or Japanese or any type of Eastern Asian festival, there is typically people or dancers, professional dancers, who will go underneath a type of costume and they will enact a Eastern dragon, what it looks like. So maybe that description of it probably isn't super specific, but hopefully you get the gist of what I'm hinting at.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to point out was my daughter did tell me the differences between, what is it, the kimono
and the hanbok. So this is a kimono. However, it has a little bit of similarity to what a hanbok might look like this piece right here. I'm not really super familiar with what the hanbok and the kimono have in common. I mostly am able to discern the differences like this. These two you can definitely see are kimonos, and that kimonos are Japanese, meanwhile hanboks are Korean.
Yeah, so I think I will edit in the differences between the Western dragon and the Eastern dragon. Shout out to my daughter because this is my technician. Okay, but what I love about the fox itself is the myth behind it is just that it is shapeshifters. Okay, they are shapeshifters, and of course, being in the esoterical realm, you know, in the arts, this is very much something that pleases me. This one says empowerment. I will go over the book in a little bit, but for me, the art is beautiful. I have not yet, you know, played with these or shuffled them yet, so I will go over that. As far as the card stock, there isn't any gold edging or anything like that, which for me, that would knock it over the top. I mean, I would definitely give it a 10 if it had like any edging, just because I like that aesthetically. But that is probably my Taurus moon and Venus that makes me a little picky when it comes to cards. But for me, I right now, I would give this deck probably an 8.
I want to point this out too as well. This, like, I'm going to use this book as the comparison for this. This is a Western figure. This is a Western woman, someone who traditionally has Western beauty significances. Meanwhile, this is someone who has Eastern beauty standards. That's the word I meant. the dress in itself, that's Eastern, very European, and this also has Eastern, like I said. Like the cultural differences and interruptances, again, in this deck are a little bit inept, but I think that might also just be because, like, I think some of these artwork pieces were created at earlier or later dates, and here's an example of a handbook. Like, I don't know if you can really see, but it has a lot more structure into it compared to the kimono. Kimonos are kind of draped. They're a lot more flowing. Meanwhile, hanboks, they have a bit more of a almost teacup, upside down teacup kind of shape to them, and that's what's shown in this picture specifically. You can kind of tell because the waistline is a lot higher up. There's this type of collar here. You can see the woman's shoes. These shoes are traditionally Korean.
So is this one a kimono?
That is a kimono, yes.
See, and for me personally, I don't know this stuff, okay? So I wouldn't know the differences, okay? But somebody like my daughter who is all into Korean culture, she notices this stuff right away, okay? So shouts out to those that are a little bit more knowledgeable. I still love the cards. You know, maybe if I was a little bit more knowledgeable, I wouldn't like them as much. I will say that. What do you give them, Sass, as far as a rating?
Well, I think in all of this, you kind of have to give anything. So, like, if I'm going to rate these cards, I'm going to take into account everything that I'm seeing here. So, artwork is a big, big thing. For me, as I am a Taurus, I have that art kind of aesthetic thing that I always keep in mind. But I think it does a pretty good job with most of the cards in translating that type of vibe, that type of Japanese aesthetic. However, when it comes to cards like these, that obviously have some sort of Western, European, American inspiration behind it, it kind of seems like it's interrupting the flow.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about these dragons, okay? So this is a Western dragon, correct?
Yes.
Because it has wings.
It has wings. Eastern dragons aren't known for having wings. They're meant to be, all dragons are meant to be flying creatures, yes, but there are, like, the snout here, the small head, that's not traditionally Eastern dragon. This entire arch in general is just kind of, this entire picture in general is very Eastern. Like, you can see the archway here, that's a significance. That would be peak kind of familiarity with, like, Eastern and, not Eastern, Western architecture. As even like the background as well. That's not very traditionally Japanese, Asian, Chinese, Vietnamese, any type of Eastern Asian culture. Again, with this thing. Like, even the color balances, this doesn't seem very in tune with what would be Japanese. Because the Kitsune, that's the thing, with having a deck being namedly Foxfire, Kitsune, I expect a type of strict Japanese type of almost honoring, like almost like these, like the artist would honor the strict Japanese culture and with it. And even though there are some Korean like hints in like one of the cards or two of the cards, I still think that's a bit not to expectations.
Yeah, so ignorance is bliss in my world, being that if I wouldn't have known all these things, I would have just loved the deck. But now that she is talking and she is making me aware of this stuff now, I do kind of see like, yeah, maybe I wouldn't have loved this deck as much. Now let's talk about the Kitsune. So what do you know about the foxes themselves?
So the foxes themselves, they're magical beings, deities almost. They're almost at that level of capability. Yeah, that's really pretty.
This is beautiful.
That's really pretty. But they're I wouldn't say necessarily worshipped. I'd say they're almost feared in the way that they're mostly portrayed because, like I said before, they are known to be mischievous beings, most popularly discussed in any way. So yeah, so this is like almost similar to like what a geisha's standards would be. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. The Kitsune, they're known to be very beautiful, and I think that message in itself does translate well, especially with like a card like this. They are known sometimes to take human form. They are shapeshifters, so they have the ability to transform into whatever form they may want. But I don't know. They're kind of tricky thing, because sometimes there's the good and the bad Kitsune, which is what I've read. There are many folk legends. I think they had originally been a Chinese type of folklore, recognized in Chinese folklore. However, Japanese culture has seemed to popularize it a lot. So I just saw this card that you were pulling out earlier. Hold on. This card in particular, it kind of sticks out to me a lot, because while the other cards have had that traditional ancient Japanese type of anthropomorphic body, this card in particular has a very Victorian early 1900s style. Like the parasol in it, that's all Eastern, that's all American, that's all European. Did I say Eastern? I meant Western. Yeah, even just like the way the fox is standing, the way they're holding the parasol, it's similar, but there's obviously a interruption there with what it's meant to be. What would have been a more, in my opinion, I would have preferred for even a more ancient looking type of anthropomorphic Kitsune. Foxes have very vivid imagery and consonants. Not consonants. Yeah, I guess consonants with what they mean. Connotation. That's the word I was looking for. Connotation with what the imagery suggests. Most foxes are meant to be like mischievous, clever, tricksters. That's how they've always been recognized in like Western, even in all cultures, I guess. But see, like this is very almost different to how it's being shown. Even the way they're holding the parasol is slightly different. There's a border here, very slight, but it blends in. However, this border is like very pronounced. It's very meant to be elegant. It's like gold. I would say that's another trait of Western imagery as well. Influence, yeah. Yeah, I think just the striking difference between these two, and while this card is said to represent past lives, I think it would have been hit more close to home if it had been even more ancient than what this picture in itself does suggest, because obviously most people don't in Japan, they don't dress like this on a day-to-day basis. While that's traditional, it's more of an ancient imagery. However, this is not necessarily ancient, but this is historical at best.
So I will read a little bit of the book to you guys, just so you guys can see the book. For $26, do I recommend it? Yeah, I do. But like I said, my daughter knows a lot more about the culture. Let's see. In the intro, it says, "With thanks to the infinite wisdom of this infinite universe, which offers to us again and again the opportunity to transform our lives and walk through the fires of change." Then it says, "At 50 years of age, the fox can turn into a human. At 100, it can know something. At 1,000 miles away, at 1,000 years, it could communicate with heaven." Gu Pao, 276 AD folklorist. Okay, so of course you're gonna get the table of contents. This is in black and white. Foxfire, it tells you what it is. In ancient times, there were lands on which, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it does of course give you the whole spread, the different spreads you can do. I have yet to shuffle. I will shuffle on camera with it just because it was sticky. But yeah, I mean, I like it. $26 price point. You can probably find it for cheaper. And this is beautiful. Empowerment card 27. She turns it looks almost like a koi fish. So I think it's beautiful just because, like I said, it spoke to me in the shop. It actually had spoke to my daughter, but she did go with a different deck. But you know, we're in the same household, so it's all good. So it says, you are about to enter a magical world, a secret world of cherry blossom trees, ginkgo plants that talk, dragons that create the day and the night, and elves that guard the sacred groves. In the enchanted land, there exists the most ancient of powers, Foxfire, and the guardians of Foxfire are the remarkable Kitsune. Okay, so let me shuffle with these. Let me know in the comments down below if you like this deck, if you have it. Let me know, you know, how it is to work with it. I have yet to work with it because, as you can tell, I just opened it up. How accurate it is, let me know. These are bigger. I will tell that right now off the bat. I don't really like a big, you know, like, look at I'm stretching out my fingers. But as far as shuffling, this is a little bit bigger than I like to deal with. Now, that is if you're going to shuffle it a traditional card way. You can, of course, always shuffle like this, right? Which, of course, I'm not liking, right? And then what I do, too, when I'm with a client, I will lay them out and let them pick, okay? So because if I don't like shuffling a card deck, that's what I will do with people, you know, on a one-on-one reading. You know, some people,
do they feel like
they feel a little sticky. They feel a little sticky, which I'm not liking. But of course, like I said, I do like it for the artwork. I may in the future want to frame one of these. I don't know yet. Like I said, I haven't worked with it yet.
There's only 45 cards, by the way. It's not like, it is an oracle deck. It's not a traditional tarot deck that has like 70 plus cards, which is probably the best because of how large the cards are. They're like the same size as the box they came in.
Right.
Almost.
Right.
I do like that there's a lot of almost knowledge put into the book in itself. I think that's a good aspect to have, especially with someone who's not as well informed and versed with how this culture works. I do like that they did make a notion that with age and wisdom, a kitsune becomes more powerful, which is a very common part of the culture in Korea and Asia, in Japan and China, that the older the person is, the more elderly they are, the more years they have onto their age, the more they are to be treated with respect. That's always been a big part of Asian culture. Just respect, honor, just overall wisdom, just time. Time is a big part of what influences respect given. And I think that's a good that they meant a little hint to that, which is what the kitsune are about. With age, they become more powerful. And I think that's almost, in itself, the legend is a hint and a nod at elder people in Asia.
Yeah, so please comment down below, guys. Let me know if you love this deck, if you would run out and buy it. Let me know how we did as far as the review. Shouts out to my daughter for editing all my videos, putting my thumbnails, and just being a great supporter of my page.
You're welcome.
Shouts out to the other readers, the other reviewers. Lately, that's my secret addiction, is looking at deck reviews. So I will send out more of these kind of videos just because I bought a bunch of decks recently. Go ahead and follow me, This Beautiful Place Tarot, on Instagram. I will leave it. She will leave it somewhere here. Go ahead, like, share, and subscribe this page, please. Anything else you'd like to say, Sauce?
Yeah, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Subscribe. Follow her Instagram. It's at ThisbeautifulPlaceTarot. And yeah, maybe comment down below any other things you would like to see from us concerning tarot, or even just esoteric in general. We could probably do like crystals, anything of that particular vein. Yeah.
Candles, spiritual baths. I will do some candle and manifesting. Shout out to everybody who's manifesting for the full moon in Scorpio on May the 7th. But yeah, I did enjoy doing this video with her. She's, like I said, more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am. I do love this deck though. I will give it an 8. What do you give it? Scale 1 to 10, 10 being the best.
I don't want to talk too much, but I also want to just like kind of put everything into my overall score. The artwork is gorgeous despite the cultural interruptances, despite this being a namedly Japanese tarot deck, so that automatically and puts it at a pretty high point. The font and like the messages underneath the cards, I'm not sure how much I'm a fan of that, I'll be honest, because like oracle cards are meant for mostly interpretation, even though they have the book here, but I feel like with these cards you would have to constantly go back to the book, and at least in my case, if I ever had to use these cards, like they're not entirely specific, they're very, very vague. And while that is great for like intuition interpretation, you can leave that up to that. I'm not sure that this I have a feeling I'm not one of those people who likes to go back to the book a lot, but I will if it really comes to it. I don't like to use the book often, but overall I'd give it an 8. I give it a 7. I give it a 7. I'll go with 7.
So she's a little bit more hard on her critique. She gives it a 7. I give it an 8. You did bring up an important point though about the intuitive factor. I for one like going to the book just because it gives everything, and then I like to double down with my tarot for clarity. But she's accurate with that as far as intuition and whether or not you want to read the book. Sometimes the books can be lengthy and you don't want to sit here and read for 20 minutes.
Right.
But to each their own.
Exactly. I think that's just reading preference in general.
But I do love the art. I do love the cards. All right.
The more you went through the cards, I realized how many there's not as much like foxes in these cards and like the people cards.
Right. There really isn't that many depictions of the fox in the cards.
Like if you look at these last 10 cards we're picking up, there's like one fox.
Right. You want to hold that for me? Thank you. Yeah. So.
And I think I also would have liked to see more depictions of men in this as well. Yeah, the Kitsune are known for being mostly gorgeous, beautiful women, but that doesn't exempt them from being men as well. Like they're like foxes, I also think have a very masculine energy to them, just like in color and imagery, what they normally represent. But the Kitsune, again, are different from foxes. They take the form of a fox most naturally, but at the same time, I would have liked to see a little bit more masculinity presented in this deck, even though that might have not been what it represented. That might just be my own inner energy coming and speaking out, but there's a lot of women, a lot of kimonos. Men can wear kimonos as well, but I would have liked to see more of a masculine presence in the deck.
And I am on the opposite end of that spectrum. I enjoy the women, to be honest with you, because I like the femininity in the deck. If I wanted a more masculine deck, I would have bought a more masculine deck with a lot of darkness, a lot of black.
Oh, we got one. We got a man. We got one.
Right. There he is, hiding out.
Right.
So yeah, so let us know, guys. Thank you so much for coming to my page. Leave me comments in the comments down below. And thanks. Shout out to my BTS fans.
Oh my god, that's not...
Bye.
Bye.